Welcome to the Digital Nomad Cafe podcast, the show where we discuss what it takes to create a sustainable long-term online business in today's fast-moving environment. We talk with industry experts and freelancers alike to find out what it takes to build and manage a location-independent business.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Digital Nomad Cafe podcast. If this is your first time listening, this is a show where we have honest and transparent conversations around building and managing an online business, freelancing, and a remote work lifestyle. New episodes are available on all your favorite podcast players through iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, all that good stuff, or you can get it online at digitalnomadcafe.com. Today I'm very excited to bring out my guest. His name is Sheridan and his website is OutsideVibes.com. Sheridan, welcome to the show.
Hey, Adam, thank you for having me on the Digital Nomad Cafe podcast. I'm stoked to be here and I'm excited to share my story. That's for sure.
Yeah, man, you got some cool pictures on your website anyway, so it looks like you've been having some pretty cool adventures along the way. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and and what it is that you do and I guess why you started looking online to fund your income.
Yeah, sounds good. As you said, my name is Sheridan. I'm a travel blogger and I did create OutsideVibes. It's my own personal brand that hopefully I'm growing and expanding. But before I became a digital nomad and seeing the world, I'm from North Dakota in the United States. So growing up in the Midwest, we do focus a lot on the traditional career and lifestyle, I would say, less on the alternative traveling and stuff. So right out of university, I was offered a great career in my hometown. So I took that right away. So basically, I grew up in my hometown, went to university, and then got a career in my hometown. And I worked there for about 4 years before I kind of realized that, I wanted to see more of the world. I wanted to do something, have an adventure instead of spending my life working and getting the 2 weeks off kind of holiday a year that you normally get in the States. So that's when I did the rational thing and quit my career, sold my townhouse, sold all my stuff, moved in with my parents, and bought a one-way ticket to Bangkok, Thailand. That was the fall of 2013. And that was my first, time outside of the US, my first adventure ever. And I spent 5 months backpacking Southeast Asia, seeing as much as I could, experiencing as much as I could before I had to go back home for, it was actually wedding season. A lot of my friends were getting married. So I came back home for the summer. And when I got home that summer, I spent most of the summer trying to figure out a way to make travel my life to be location independent and to, keep having adventures and seeing more places of the world because I was hooked. I couldn't just stay back home now. I wanted to see more and do more things for sure.
Yeah, I love it. Sell all your stuff, head off to Thailand. It's a fairly recurring theme across the digital nomad community. It's the place to go, but it's just fun. You know what I mean? It's a laugh to do when you're young and you can, and you don't have the, responsibilities. Well, I mean, you had a house, but you sold it. But you know what I mean? Like you don't have kids, you don't have any of that. It's carefree, and you can make those decisions without too much. There's not too much weight upon them. So.
Yeah, for sure. And that's why I did it. All my friends were getting, married, like I said, and having kids. And then, I'm like, okay, I need to do this before I settle down. Otherwise I won't.
There's a meme of that, isn't there? Where there's like somebody looking at a map and they're like, all my friends are having kids to get married. I just want to know where to go next. So, no, look, that's cool. And when you were traveling, did you come across people who were working online while they were traveling? Was it that triggered it in your mind that, oh, maybe I could do that? Or was it purely you'd done the travel, came back and you were like, oh, how could I travel and work at the same time? How did that work?
Not so much meeting people, especially back in 2013. I don't think it was such a big thing as being, a remote worker then, and, especially in hostels, you don't see a lot of people with ambition to try and get an online business going. It was more, when I got home and realized that, okay, I want to see more of the world and I want to try and make some kind of company. I used to do like graphic design for school and always had ambitions to create my own company. And so that's where I kind of got the idea for OutsideVibes. I've always kind of had an idea to sell like t-shirts and stickers and stuff. And it just kind of merged into like my love of travel and my love of like creating cool products. So I'm like, I need to try and make a business where I can do this. And that's where I came up with the idea of OutsideVibes. And I've been, working on it ever since.
Yeah, it's awesome. If anybody is, or of course there's people listening, but like when you get a chance, if you're not driving or, in the gym or something, to go on to OutsideVibes.com, your website is class, absolutely class. I remember saying this to you when I reached out to you. I was like, your website is slick. I love the t-shirts. That's completely up my style. I love this brand called Fur or Fur. Can't think of the name, but I'll send you a picture. I'll link it in the show notes. But they do really cool, creative t-shirts, and it's quite similar to your style. It's it's cool, and the website is very bright and visual and aesthetically. You could definitely tell you have a design chops about you, So
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you for saying that. It's come a long way. I've been to the point where I did spend instead of launching Outside Vibes in 2014 when I came up with the name, I spent 3 years building the website and then rebuilding it and redesigning it. So I kind of got stuck in that design phase for a long time before I have put it out to the world. But thank you for saying that. I'm glad you like it.
Yeah, I would be the opposite. I don't really have. I've purposely always avoided using Photoshop because I feel like it's a rabbit hole. If I go down, I'll never come out of. So I've kind of forced myself to learn things like SEO, which are more technical. To me, they're a bit more difficult, a bit more technical, and I try and invest my time in that versus I love the creative design process and I love playing guitar and things like that. But I feel if I went into Illustrator or Photoshop, I'd be gone, and then I'd come out a couple of years later and be like, damn it, I didn't get anything done.
Yeah, that's what happened to me. And, there's another thing. It doesn't matter how nice your website looks and stuff if you don't have people looking at it. So the good thing, if you do SEO right and everything, if you get traffic there, that's good. Because you spend years designing and making it perfect. But if no one sees it, does it really matter?
Yeah, well, look, that's, honestly, the approach I've taken with other websites. I ran a travel blog myself for quite a few years. It's actually offline and I have the domain for sale on flippa.com at the minute, ironically. I was going to rebuild it, but then I'm like, do I really want to rebuild it and not I'm not going to be a travel blogger. I travel quite a bit. I've been to a couple of countries this year. I've got a couple more lined up. I travel a bit, but I feel like, the Digital Nomad Cafe podcast and the brand that I'm using there, I can incorporate it into that. I don't necessarily need a separate travel blog for it, but I was definitely a bit naive, I guess, when I started mine. I started mine in maybe it was 2012 or 2013, and I didn't do keyword research. It was just rants about me going around the place, Tiger Kingdom in Chiang Mai, this sucks, don't go there. It's just like
oh my god, that place does suck.
It's horrible, drugged up tigers, but everybody gets these pictures with them and thinks they're cool, but I don't know, not my cup of tea. Sorry if I offended anybody, but it's not.
It's a lot of work getting into the travel blog. Yeah. And your podcast stuff is fantastic. This is a good avenue to go down, I think, for sure.
Yeah. Well, honestly, it's like we spoke about briefly before the episode, when you're traveling around, and especially in places that have a lot of people who work online, so it could be Medellin, Colombia, Ho Chi Minh, Vietnam, Chiang Mai, Thailand, Bangkok, Thailand, a lot of these, Barcelona is a big hotspot at the minute, Budapest. You go to the cafes and you have these meetups and you meet up with everybody and you have these conversations around, what is it you do? What tools do you use? How did you grow that? Who do you follow? Who's your inspiration? What people are you following for to learn your knowledge from? And those are all I'm trying to do here is to have those conversations, but have them remotely and put them out there for other people to listen to. And it's funny, I had an episode about drop shipping. I think it was episode 8 or 9, and with a fella called Johnny FD, and it was kind of a different strategy for drop shipping. It's about finding suppliers versus, doing the old AliExpress Shopify thing. And there's a fella I know who's gone ahead now and set up an entire dropshipping business from listening to that episode, and it's that's the sort of stuff.
Oh, really? That's awesome.
Yeah, he reached out, he's like, man, listen to that episode, didn't think he could do dropshipping like that, this is awesome. And he's well into it now. He flew over to the UK, met with suppliers, he's the website built, they're getting ready for launch now in April. It's he went all in. He was like, I never knew you could do it this way. So to me, that's awesome. It's look at this, that's, sharing a story of somebody else's journey, and then it sparks an idea in somebody else's. So
an idea gives them inspiration. Yeah, it's really good. I listened to that episode too, and it was a very fantastic episode.
Yeah, it was.
After listening to a bunch of years, you really do bring inspiration to people that are listening for sure.
I'm just trying to share what other people do, like it's about like at the end of the day, it's the guest's journey, like that's what I'm trying to share. Yeah, I mean, like everyone's story is different. I guess that's another important thing, there's no right or wrong ways. Like everybody's path is carved differently, and you just you pick little bits of what you like from different people and try and apply it to your own business. So, yeah, I'm with your website. So what's your thoughts on generating revenue? How do you go about this? Like, what's your process at the minute with regards to using Outside Vibes as a source of revenue for you to help you fund your travels?
Yeah, we talked about this briefly, before the episode. And as of right now, these last couple of years, I've been funding Outside Vibes through my savings I had from, working so much back home. I worked a lot of overtime and extra hours to make this dream come true. And what I'm trying to bring Outside Vibes, to in the future is, selling great products. Like I just started launching merchandise, the brand t-shirts, and I want to have a lot of other things going. I have my own personal like coffee flavor coming in the works with one of my friends from Mighty Missouri Coffee. Him and I are working on our own adventure flavor for travel people, but just stuff like that. A lot of merchandise, a lot of like, I kind of want to build it into a brand that has like really good values, and it, brings inspiration to people to want to try and do, things they like. It might not be travel. You might like hiking or snowboarding, but I kind of want to have people, when they hear Outside Vibes, think like, oh yeah, I like to hike. I like Outside Vibes. It's something that, you enjoy doing. So right now I just started selling products, and it's, it's been going pretty decent. I need to, push it more. But other than that, other revenue we talked about is, like as normal, because it's also a travel blog. I have been sharing some of my stories. And, the other revenue is by getting like affiliate links, through Amazon or Booking, stuff like that to bring revenue. When you get traffic to your site, you can get that. Some other forms of income I've done to keep the website running is, sponsored projects. Being a digital nomad, I have a lot of hats that I wear. I'm a photographer too, and designer and everything. And, I'm not good at reaching out to a lot of companies. My ex-girlfriend, she was fantastic at doing that. She's also a digital nomad and a website designer. Her stuff is Simplest of Adventures, and her name's Emma Hillary Design. But she was really good at reaching out to companies. And so when we traveled together, we actually got a few sponsored opportunities where I did photography for like a retreat in Bali. We did for like a spiritual retreat. So we did photography for that, did videos for that. We've done, the standard free accommodation as most bloggers do. When you pitch your work to resorts, we'll do photos for a resort or like drone videos and stuff like that. And you get accommodation covered for that. Other things I've done is, more sponsored projects. I have a big one coming up with an actual really big name travel blogger this summer, where I'll be hiking for 16 days in one of his tours. And I'll be covering that with like photos and videos and doing vlogs and stuff through it. So, it's coming together, just all these odds and ends, I guess, to bring revenue in is what you kind of do.
Yeah, no, it's interesting, but it's fabulous for people to hear that, that it's not just one source. You have to build the multiple streams when you're running your own, when you're trying to run your own business and build your own business. And because you like to travel, you'll weigh it up. You'll do, essentially a barter as well, where maybe you're not getting paid, but you'll get free trips and free accommodation and free experiences. And I mean, if you're happy to do that, and that's awesome, because you get to go to cool places, stay in awesome things. And as your following grows and as your website stats grow, essentially as your influence, I guess for lack of a better word, grows, you can command more. You can command, oh, I'll do that project, but I also want a couple of thousand as well, you know what I mean, for expenses. And I've seen that. I mean, the travel world, because it's so competitive, you have so many big companies who are have huge budgets essentially, and they like to work with, like you're saying, brands that have good values, who have good websites, who have good social followings, because the travel world is full of, I would dare say the word, fakes, like.
Yeah, there's a lot of fake and setup stuff for sure. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Like, I mean, like I used to run quite a big travel blog PBN, which was essentially buying expired travel blogs, whacking up websites and selling advertising and links on them, because that's what was wanted at that time in the industry. You know what I mean? When you were working with these big brands, they were like, they really didn't care whether, I dare say most of them, because I know I've worked with some of the biggest ones in the industry. I won't call anyone out, but like at that time, they were more concerned with, do you have a high page rank? Do you have a decent domain authority? Okay, right. Do you have different IPs for all of these websites? Okay, we'll buy links on all of them. And people cannibalize this, and there's people who have hundreds of travel blogs on separate IPs managed by virtual teams, and they make quite significant revenue by selling sponsored links on these websites and sponsored advertising. So, there's definitely a huge industry for that sort of model. But in the time frame, I guess in the last 5 years, because that's now quite very, it's grey hat SEO, essentially borderline black hat. And yeah, they've kind of shifted, and a number of people were penalized. So now they're trying to align more with real bloggers who have good values, who have standards, essentially, as opposed to just, I'll put any old link up here,
Yeah, instead of just somebody, you give them, any link, anything, and just kind of like a fake review that they've never been there, they've never done it, and they just write something about it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the industry's rife with it because people want things for free, don't they? And like, I mean, I'm not trying to put a bad light on it, but it's one that's close. It's, I guess I've lived it and you're in it at the minute. Like, I don't travel blog anymore because I don't consider myself a travel blogger. I live in Ireland full time, but I do travel quite a bit. But I didn't want to continue a travel blog. I felt like I was being a fake. So for me, that was my core reason for like stopping it. But I do know people who are still very much involved in the industry, and it's a lot of it's very grey hat what goes on in travel. So okay, well look, so you got the site live, and you've been saying you're focusing on things like doing affiliate around these brand sponsorships. So do you actively reach out for these now at this point, or do you have brands who reach out to you? Can you talk to me a little bit about how that's worked for you?
Right now, it's mostly me actively reaching out to brands, and once it gets bigger, hopefully they will reach out to me. Once everything grows, and it's been recently, because Outside Vibes, I've been working on it since 2014, but it hasn't been until I'd say the middle of 2017 where I actually got over my anxiety of making it perfect and making it whatever it needs to be, and actually putting it out to the world and like kind of launching it and sharing it with everybody. So ever since then, it has been growing really decent since then. So it hasn't been live for very long. And, I think once, there's more time live, once there's more traction going, it will, more brands will reach out to me. But yeah, right now it's mostly me reaching out to them, when I have time. I guess I've been pretty bad at that. I've been spending most of my time, working on my stuff, but yeah.
Yeah, no, it's not easy, and that's why I asked. I guess I'm not trying to put you on the spot or anything. I'm like, that's why I asked. Like, the way when I did it, the best way was usually shared lists. People in the industry shared these things with each other. That's how essentially it grew. If like, oh, I know you've been working with X brands, and that they're looking for more people because they're doing this big campaign, and we share the details, and I'd pitch my stuff, and you have a media pack or whatever with your stats and some info on what it is that you'd offer, and like that was how it works. So I just kind of was curious. Is that how it works? Do you use any software or service? I know there's some of these like influencer programs or whatever you can sign up for, and they try and match the brands to the bloggers, essentially, So I was just curious. Had you explored any of those?
I haven't yet, and that's something I need to get more into. Is I've been very against, I guess, for being a travel blogger, I've been very against the influencer world these last couple of years, because you see a lot of fake stuff, and how it runs like that. And, I wasn't really into the mentality of it, but that was also me kind of treating Outside Vibes more as like a personal website, not a brand. And I've come to realize that, you need to treat your business as a business, not a personal thing. And the more I treat this as a business, the more I do need to, I've been getting into a lot of those Facebook groups and stuff like that, where you reach out to other people in the industry and, get information from them and, see if you can, be a part of it. And like you said, get on those lists to see if there's any businesses looking for influencers or for work and stuff. That's, something I am, working towards to, help expand it and grow, instead of just doing it on my own. If you make connections, it helps a lot better.
Absolutely. I'm loving this conversation, because it's like I've had a lot of similar feelings to what you're feeling, especially with that whole travel, the industry, because look, I mean, people look at influencers through a strange lens, where some of them are cringeworthy and it's some of them do really well. And you're like, oh, like this stuff there, but like, that's the game. If you want to
It's
play
the name of the game.
that's the name of the game.
Yeah.
Get off your high horse and get in there.
And that's what I needed to do. Yeah,
that's what it is. Like you can hate on it, but like that's what brands want. That's what they're looking for. If you want to participate, you need to create similar content and run in similar circles, because at the end of the day, that's how it is. So.
Yeah, I mean, you got to look at it as a job. You don't always like every aspect of your normal job, and there's no reason you have to like everything of this, but you have to do it for sure to get into it.
Absolutely. So you touched on Facebook groups there. So have you found Facebook groups useful for helping you to grow the website and grow your following?
I have. Like I said, I recently just got into Facebook groups. I mean, I think I met you off a Facebook group. I sent you a message. So it has been really great at growing your following and making those connections for new opportunities. Definitely. I mean, I'm a fan of them now. I used to not be, but I am a fan. You do meet honest people and make some really great connections. Like, they are worth it for sure.
I've often said I wish I could delete Facebook except keep groups and Messenger. Because like, I swear to God, I would delete Facebook if I didn't use groups to find podcast guests. Like, that's traditionally my core way, like legit, because, no more than yourself when you're trying to work with brands. Like, I'm trying to align myself with bloggers, online business owners and freelancers who I haven't met or, aren't aware of. And, unless people pass me word of mouth recommendations, I tend to find these people through literally like looking through the iTunes lists or Facebook groups. And like, I'm in all these. You just put in the word digital nomad and then type in whatever country you want after, so digital nomad Spain, digital nomad Bangkok, digital nomad Bali, and join all these groups. And I mean, that's my model really. And you learn a lot from all the people in these groups anyway. I participate where I can and pitch in, but I mean, for the most part, for me, it's for connecting with people who might be potential guests to bring on the podcast. Because isn't that where they're going to hang out, in groups called digital nomads? And
that's where you're going to find them.
Yeah. Well, look, I mean, like, I often put in a wee post. I always get people who reply. I mean, I vet. I don't let everybody on who replies, because some people are selling let's just say they're not aligned with my brand values. You know what I mean? Like, they're selling things that I'm looking at your website going, oh, I don't know, man. I don't think I feel that vibe. I think you're up to something slimy, some ClickBank, ClickFunnels, slippery stuff going on there. So,
I'm honored that I passed your vetting process.
Look, but you're anyone who looks at your website will be like, that is slick and it's legit and you're a real person. But I just mean, if you've seen some of the things I get sent, you're like, no thanks.
Yeah, I can't imagine the stuff you get sent for sure.
Yeah, but it's typically cool people. Like, most of the people, even the last episode, Danny Page from Study Soup runs his own business as well. He was in the Philippines visiting his team, manages a staff of 50 in the Philippines. You know what I mean? Like, met him through a Facebook group, and it's like, honestly, like, Facebook groups are powerful for anything that you're trying to do,
Yeah, they definitely are, because, somebody either knows more than you do, or there's some information out there that, somebody has more experience and you can meet them. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I'm all for that. Like, always learning. That's kind of the growth mindset, always trying to learn. I don't know everything, far from it. Couldn't be any further from the truth. I'm always learning. And online and digital marketing, it all moves so fast. Like, it's always moving. Like, a year and a half ago, building bots wasn't a business. I think the next episode, or the episode maybe 2 episodes down the line, I'm interviewing a fella, and his entire business is building bots for websites and, building these like flows for people. And I've seen how this, working in e-commerce, I've seen how this has worked. You have companies like Drift and ManyChat, and just like new opportunities present themselves all the times for people who are freelancers and also people who run, agencies or business or want to offer a freelancer service. And often you can learn a lot about what's happening in these groups, because the people who are in, I'd say, the digital nomad community, who run online businesses, tend to be at the cutting edge of this stuff. Like, they're the ones carving the path and trying the new stuff and first onto the new software and the new thing. So it's powerful,
Yeah,
you know.
definitely.
I feel like you learn a lot from there. So
You learn a lot, and you have to stay in touch because it does, like you said, it evolves very rapidly. Like there's always something new and something different happening.
yeah, absolutely. With regards to social media, is there other social media channels that you found beneficial for your business or that you would like to explore further?
Yeah, I'm actually, like I said, finally accepting the way a lot of social media works, and it's been actually really nice. Instagram is my other main outlet for social media. I do have the rest. I'm on Twitter and Pinterest and everything like that, but not as actively as Facebook and Instagram. Instagram, I've really accepted how it's going now. I used to not like how it is, just with nothing posted live and algorithms and stuff like that. But I've really come into terms with it. I've gotten deep into looking at analytics of my stats and everything else. And I'm really having fun with that. I'm big into, like, when I was in Scotland for 2 weeks last week, and I did daily vlogs of my trip there. And like, I had a blast doing that, putting myself out there and recording it. And I got a lot of great feedback for it. And that actually like pushed Outside Vibes, pretty well on social media. And it was a lot of fun. And I think accepting that way of it too, and connecting with other travel bloggers and, making more connections through it, and, getting into that for Instagram has been huge for me lately. And I'm actually having fun with it. So that's cool.
Yeah, you might surprise yourself when you start using it.
Yeah, right. When you accept how it's going, like, okay, well, they're not going to go back to the normal timeline. I understand that. When you realize this is the way of the world, and you accept it and you do it, and I don't know. Another thing I've learned is between like my website and social media is being afraid of putting yourself out there. I would say your personality into things, because I was torn between, do I write standard blog posts of like, okay, this is how you get to this bus, this is how you get to this town, this is what you need to do, or do you write your own stories and put your own personality out there? And I've really gotten a lot of great feedback because I have started putting my personality into my posts and stuff like that. Instagram, I used to worry so much about like what I would write and what people would say, like, are they going to care, and this and that. And then finally I kind of stopped doing that, and I'm like, if I'm not having fun, so if I just want to have fun with it, so I'm going to put my personality in there, I'm going to have fun, I'm going to do what I like. And ever since I started doing that, I've just had, amazing feedback from it. People, I guess I'm a good person. I don't know. People have liked it so far.
You're being real. That's the difference. You're not.
Yeah, that's the difference. Yep.
It's not being heavily fabricated. And believe me, I'm conscious of this. Since I've started this podcast, I had an agency working on my social media, my Instagram, up until December, and I got rid of them. And I've been poorly, I would say is the word, doing it for myself since then. But just like that, people keep saying you need to do videos. You have a podcast. Why don't you turn on the video? You need to start doing videos. You need to put stuff up. And I get all weird about it. But like, I'm quite extroverted, ironically, in real life. Like I'm very extroverted. I have no problems talking with people, and even, yeah. But I find social media weird. I'm still not. There's a part of me that's like, oh, video, don't want to do it. But they're like, God, you're already doing all this other stuff. Just do it. And it's yeah, love hate. Like, I hate social media too, ironically. No, but like, I feel like it's such a time suck for so many people, and it's a rabbit hole. And I've often just like, is it the right thing to be doing to grow even the podcast or another business? For me, I'm always conflicting with that. Like, is writing SEO optimized articles a better use of my time, or finding guests, you know what I mean? Or trying to create more episodes versus trying to create interest in Instagram stories, or something like that.
Because social media does take a lot of time, and it's hard if you don't get anywhere with it too. You can struggle, and you can put in hours a day creating the best posts and doing that and liking people's things and sharing, and then you might not get anywhere with it, and that's a hard thing to struggle with too. Definitely.
It sucks. I was watching an old Gary V video, probably on Instagram the other day. and no, but it was, look, I've seen this one before, and I mean, maybe you've seen it yourself, but it was talking about, document the journey, not the finished product. And even with the podcast, like the podcast, I record it, goes to an editor edit out the ums and ahs and equals levels and does all that jazz. So then I publish, what I would consider a polished product. You know what I mean? It's not like it is authentic in that it's us having a conversation, and like there's very little I would like have edited out. You know, it's typically me just saying
Just the long pauses of which will probably cut this part out, right?
take a timestamp. But you know what I'm saying? It's polished. It's not the 100% legit. So I mean, even defining the guests and things like that. So I've been talking with somebody she works as a brand strategist, and she's like, you're missing the key point. You're not putting the real stuff out there, the how I find the guest, the recording, that's the storytelling, and
yeah,
and
that's what people like, is seeing that. Like,
you hit it on the head. It's the storytelling versus creating perfect images in Photoshop or Canva and just putting up inspirational quotes till you're blue in the face, like stuff like that. Yeah, it might get some likes, but it's not going to build an audience, I guess, is where I'm trying to go with this. It's like, yeah, you have to be real and authentic, and people appreciate that. And that's why people are warming to you in your videos, because that's you being real as opposed to just a static image with some text on it.
Yeah, like I was in Indonesia in 2017 at Mount Bromo with the sunrise photo that you see everywhere on Instagram. I have the same picture, just as stunning, and I posted it. It gets hardly any traction compared to some famous person like what's his name, Brady Wu something, and same picture 2 days later and he's got 300,000 likes on Instagram. Same thing, and you're not going to get that traction unless you have that following. But like you said, if you put a story behind that image, or if I wrote or recorded that day, having fun watching the sunrise or climbing the hill to watch it, that will get you the traction. And that has what's been doing great for me these last couple of weeks when I was in Scotland doing all that stuff. And that's what I'm going to focus on in the future when I go traveling again, is definitely putting, myself into it. And yeah, I think people like that now. That's the generation of YouTube. It's the generation of seeing other people's stuff instead of just the images. I think they understand that a lot of the images are edited or set up or whatever, and they want to see the realness of it. Yeah.
Course, and like you're saying, the actual journey to doing it, to getting it, like the climbing the mountain, that's the stuff that creates really good blog posts, even for your website, like you were saying, and you're creating it across multi channels, where if you make a video, you can also put it on YouTube, but you can also embed it on your blog, and right away post about it, and all of a sudden you're creating multiple pieces of content, I guess, for the one journey, and it's real and it's legit, and it's not just, here's my awesome photo I could have bought off Shutterstock.
Yeah. I swear I was here. Here's a picture. Yeah.
Yeah, legit. I'm telling you, I didn't Photoshop the life out of it. I seen one yesterday. I can't remember what. It caught my eye. I was like, oh, it's a class picture of some dude like Taj Mahal. And then in the thing underneath it, he was like, learn how to edit photos like me. This was absolutely packed. Blah, blah, blah. And like, it looked so good. But I was like, clearly, like, it's not a real representation of reality at all.
Yeah, where they Photoshop all the people in the background and they take out the bird or the light pole or whatever. Yeah,
absolutely, so fake, unbelievable. You know what I mean? It was, yeah, I don't know. Sure, look, that's the way that industry goes. So, but look, I mean, if you're into graphics and photography, I get why you would do that, and that's you honing your craft too. Because that guy sells courses about editing photos, and I get why you would want to do that. So I guess there's a reason behind it.
Yeah, I mean, if that's his business, he definitely needs to have good content and good exposure for it. And yeah, like you said, if that's what you want to do, that's good for you. But
caught my eye in the endless feed of Instagram, so he's pretty good. I must find him. I'll try and embed him or link to him in the show notes. But yeah, so look, I guess just kind of coming towards the end of the episode now, what would you consider our next steps for yourself and for the brand?
My next steps are, I'm going to spend the next couple of months actually at home, just building content. It's been kind of bad. I've been struggling with. Another thing is, playing catch up versus, posting what you're doing now. So I was playing catch up for quite a while, trying to create content that I did in my past travels instead of like sharing my travels that I was currently doing. So that was a mistake, because then I never shared, because I was traveling all throughout 2017 before I got in a really bad tuk-tuk accident in Thailand. But for 9 months, my girlfriend and I were traveling to these beautiful places. We went to the South Pacific, we went to Japan, everywhere. But I wasn't sharing that content at the time or creating posts about that, because I was still trying to write stuff from when I was in Central America the year before, or, where I was other places. So I think that's something that I struggled with in the future. When I go travel later this summer, I'm, going to work on just the day-to-day stuff and content that's going on then. But like right now, my main goal is to, spend more time working on the merchandising of Outside Vibes, getting together some more content and just kind of getting it together while I'm at home before I leave and, get backed up again.
And just with regards to the website, is there tools that you use that, you highly recommend or that you would you couldn't run the business without? What would be your favorite tools to help you run the business?
For me running it, like we talked about, I've been getting really big into, apps and stuff for my phone. I use like cPanel app, my WordPress app. They have helped me a lot just for doing little checks or little changes. Like if I post a blog post and then I open my WordPress app on my phone and be like, oh no, there's a spelling error. You can, quickly change it and shift, and fix it. So I've used cPanel and WordPress have been huge for me. You mentioned Canva. I've used Canva, every once in a while if I need like a quick edit or something. Canva's been, fantastic for that. Otherwise to, keep everything organized, I do Trello to keep my, mind organized because I have a million little projects or, Facebook apps, just stuff like that, just little things.
A lot of people tend to use Trello. I used to hate it and I was always Asana, but I've recently moved over and I like having all of my mad ideas organized into boards.
That's what they are. They are mad ideas. Yeah, you get everything.
I'm always trying to do too much, I guess. That's where even, if you've made it to this, this far into the episode, you would have noticed that, there's been a couple of weeks of a break there. I had a couple of cancellations for recordings and then I had to cancel one or two and it was just like, I just kind of had a wee drop in the recording. I was being consistent and then I dropped the ball. But look, you just have to, accept it and just move on and get back rolling. I'm recording, I think 6 episodes this week. So it's full on, you know what I mean? So I'm like, well, I think just from a podcast perspective, you have to do it in blocks because otherwise it just becomes... Look, just for me, I don't know. It's not working doing it another way, so I have to do it in blocks. So set blocks.
Get everything in one. And,
in 1 week, just try and knock out X amount, and then, you can leave it 2 or 3 weeks, and then boom, just do it again, and just try and be consistent with that. So,
yeah, it's good to have a backup of content. You can have for the next 2 months covered with, podcast posts coming out, then you can take a couple of weeks to not worry about getting guests or spend time getting new guests and stuff.
Yeah, for sure. It's a lot more work than I thought, being honest and upfront between finding guests, organizing, getting it edited, getting it published, doing your images, social outreach. Telling you, it was a lot more than I originally thought, I guess, but it is worth it. Like I was saying, I've had people reach out to me saying they're inspired by episodes. There's people who enjoy the content, regular listeners all over the world. Now I don't know how many countries it's grown. It's quite phenomenally, actually. You know what I mean? iTunes is fabulous because, like, I guess people are searching for this stuff anyway, so they just stumble across me. And Spotify has been really good, which ironically,
that's what I use is Spotify. I've listened to all yours on Spotify, and you're such a interesting individual to like hear talk, and like, you got a great personality going through it. And I think that's another reason why it's been doing fantastic. Like I kept listening, even if besides you reaching out to me, I was hooked after the first one and I listened to all of them within like a day and a half. I just put on my Bluetooth speaker and had you playing in the background, like soothing my ear. So
massaging your eardrums.
Yep.
I guess my Irish accent makes me unique in that, like, there's not a massive amount of Irish podcasters. You know what I mean? Like, there's a few. I don't know, but Blind Boy, if you've ever heard of him, he wins the Irish Awards, but he's a whole different ballgame. It's not what we're talking about here now. But no, look, that's cool. But so look, thanks for giving us the insight. I honestly didn't know that there was a cPanel WordPress app for your phone, and
yeah, there's both WordPress app and cPanel, and they're fantastic.
Never done it. I never even knew that. So look, there you go. I learn every day because I just typically just log into SiteGround or whoever I'm using for my hosting, WPX lately. And just have and I typically do it in there. So you learn something new every day. So all right, well, awesome. So look, if you were talking with somebody who was interested in, starting working online or building their own website and getting into blogging, what tips would you be willing to offer them if you were back there at their situation, like they had nothing built? What would be your, insight based on your couple of years of experience?
Yeah, I got 2 main ones that I would definitely tell my younger self and other people is make sure you get your website built and stuff that you want before you leave to go travel. If you're going to be a travel blogger or whatever blogger you are, before you start, because that is a huge thing. My ex-girlfriend and I, we both were travel blogging. Like I mentioned before, she she's a fantastic writer. She's really great at writing, where me, I've been struggling writing, English and grammar is not my forte. So that was hard for me to like try and build my website while being on the road and trying to catch up on posts while being on the road. So anybody that's starting out, I would say, get your design done, get everything that you're happy with before you leave. That would make your life a whole lot easier. Like, I struggled too, like I was saying earlier in the podcast, with spending too much time over designing my website and changing the layout and changing everything. It was, I think every like 2 months I would have a new layout for my website, a new build, a new everything. I mean, it made it look better, but I did focus a lot of time on that traveling instead of what was important. So if you're looking at getting into the industry, I would say have everything ready up front before you quit your job and sell out your stuff and then hit the road.
Yeah, that's fair enough. And don't be too much of a perfectionist.
Don't be a perfectionist.
The second point.
Just don't worry too much. Put yourself out there.
Yeah, well, I mean, done is better than perfect. And, as we hit on there, being real is better than being heavily fabricated and, Pinterest perfect or Instagram perfect or whatever you want to say. So Sheridan, look, I appreciate you. I appreciate you coming on and sharing your story and being real once again, being real, sharing your story here. And anybody who's listening, make sure you head over to OutsideVibes.com to check out his website and the merchandise and everything else. So if people wanted to connect with you, what's the best way? Is it through the website or?
Yeah, thanks, Adam. It's been great being on here. If you want to connect with me, the best way is either through Outside Vibes through the website, or I'm on social media. Everything is at Outside Vibes, Instagram at Outside Vibes, same with Facebook. And I do love talking to people. So if you want to send me a Facebook message, like I'm more than happy to chat. It's a lot of fun meeting somebody new or somebody that has questions in this industry or world or is starting out. So yeah, anything. I'd say the best would be Instagram and Facebook for sure.
Nice one. Thank you, Sheridan. All the best now. Take care.
Yeah, thank you, Adam.
Thank you for listening to today's episode of the Digital Nomad Cafe podcast. If you enjoyed this episode and you found it actionable and inspiring, please be sure to give us a rating on iTunes and share it on your social media profiles. Tag us on Instagram. Get the word out there. Share it in any Facebook groups that you're in where people might be freelancers, remote employees, online entrepreneurs, anywhere that you feel and anyone that you feel could benefit from learning from today's insights and the story and the journey of this entrepreneur who was on today's podcast. Please help get the word out there. And, every rating helps, every new listener helps. And all we're trying to do here is to inspire people and, share stories to show that it is possible to create that digital nomad lifestyle. And also just, the real nitty gritty of what it actually takes to build an online business, whether that be as a freelancer or as an online business owner.
Thank you for listening to the Digital Nomad Cafe podcast. Head over to the website to access the resources and links mentioned in today's episode at digitalnomadcafe.com.